Hello YouTube, this is David here with Code 1 Solutions. Today we have a 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L that we just installed the Whelen CORE system. In this video I want to discuss with you what a Whelen CORE is, what some of its features are, so that you know whether or not this kind of outfit is for you. Before we jump into it, if you could please hit that subscribe button, it really helps our channel out. I would appreciate it. Right here we have response mode, boom. DVI, scene mode, front flood, red mode, horn, howler, dual siren. In a traditional upfit, we would run, let's say, one wire to control the 4 grill lights. So that would be one control wire. Then we would also run, let's say, another control wire so that we can control the license plate and the fog lights. So we have two wires that control those lights. Now, what's important to keep in mind is that these lights, they are flashed locally. So that means that the light itself has an internal flasher. So when we give it power, on a regular upfit, the siren light controller just gives constant power to this area, and then the light itself has an internal flasher and that flashes it. So that's how it's able to flash. And so we would have one wire to turn on the grill lights, one wire to turn on all of those, and then they would flash. Now in a core, it's completely different. In a core, each individual light is wired up straight to the brain itself, straight to the core itself, but we don't use the internal flasher on the light itself. We'll call it like a dummy light. All it is a light that turns on and it turns off. So we do that to all the lights in the car, and then we flash it from the brain itself. So that means that each light is wired directly to the brain, and I can control each individual light from programming from the controller. So for example, in a core build, each one of these grill lights is controlled directly from the core. So I can control this one, this one, this one, and this one. So why is that important? Well, for starters, we can very easily change the pattern. So for example, I can have this pattern where the 2 reds are flashing against the 2 whites, or I can put this pattern, right, where you have the lefts against the rights. Right, that's a small thing, not a big deal, right? We usually just set it once and then you forget about it. But in a scenario where you are responding, so you use one kind of flash pattern to respond to the emergency, and then when you get on scene, you don't necessarily need to have such lights that are flashing at such a pace. You can just go to a slower pattern, so we could do something like this. So having the flash pattern being controlled by the brain itself is what gives you the ability to change the pattern on the fly from within the vehicle, from the controller. Simply put, now there are some lights that give you that control, but this gives you an entirely new set of control of the lights. And I'm gonna show you in this upfit some of the controls that we gave the customer in this particular build. Let's get into it. All right, so let's just start with our response mode, slide switch 3. So let's go through the lights. In the grill, we have 4 Whelen M4s. By the license plate area, we have just generic hideaways. The fog lights, those are the factory fog lights. They're being controlled by the core itself. In the wheel well area, we have Whelen Ion Duos. The front lower dash light is a Whelen Slim Lighter that is controlled only via a power wire to the Slim Lighter. On top, we have a strobes and more bar that is controlled by the core. It's a dual color bar. Going around, we have the Ion Duos. And then in the rear, we have our factory reverse lights and our factory brake lights flashing. By the license plate area, we have Ion T Duos flashing from the core. In the back, we have a Abrams 600 bar, and again, factory brakes and reverse. And the other side is the same exact thing. So some of the features that we gave this customer, so that's slide switch 3. Okay, great. We saw all the lights. Now let's check out slide switch 2. So slide switch 2 is when the customer gets on scene. I'll get into later some of the automations that we did into it, but scene. So when the customer's on scene, you don't need to have all the lights flashing, and we could also change the pattern. So we did like a nice and calm DVI pattern in the front. DVI is simply just that it's, I forget exactly what it's called, something variable intensity, so that it's not very harsh on the eyes. It ramps up and ramps down. So that's for the front, and for the rear we have license plate area. Okay, so that's our slide switch 2. Now our slide switch 1, the customer wanted to have a little more of the lights that are on So if they're on an MVA or whatever it is, so in this case we turned on the side lights, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's that. All right, now again, remember we have core, so we can control each and every light from right over here. So one of the things we did, take it down, boom, all our front lights turn on. Awesome. Another thing, so this is going to be from the inside. We have take down right, so that's all the lights on the driver's side turn on. Right, take down left, the other side turns on. Right, that's pretty standard. Now what we also did, we gave them a white mode, so just let's say they got flat tire, whatever it is, whites in the front turn on, the whites in the back turn on. Great. Red turns on all of the red lights as steady. Now we have traffic advisor. So this is an Abrams bar. It's not core friendly. We cannot control it from the core. All we can do is give it a power wire and it turns on to directional. And I also put in over here that I turn the indicators on so that the driver will know that it's going on. So that's that. Right is right. It's pretty standard, and both of them is center out. Cool. All right. What other kind of automation did we do? The rest of the stuff is mainly Siren Tones. Just a warning for all those headphones users. We're about to turn on sirens. Loud music. Careful. Okay, so Siren Tones. Well, yelp, Pierce, all pretty standard. Manual stop. Oop, air horn, check that out. Look at what we have. Anytime you press the horn, all the lights, all the white forward-facing lights turn on. That's pretty standard. Howler. So this is actually the Abrams version of the Howler. I believe it's called a Tornado. So when you turn that on, not sure how well you can tell the difference over the video, but in person you can actually feel the noise when the Howler is on. Another thing that we have over here, dual tone. So whenever dual tone button is on, there's an additional tone that plays, and that's through the core system also. So there's a regular core brain, and there's another core expansion siren that I'll show you later. So whenever this is on, the next siren is on. So let's listen. So right now you'll notice that only wail is on. As soon as I turn dual tone, yelp will turn on also. And then when I have yelp on and I turn on dual tone, priority will turn on. Priority is just two priorities. Now we threw in a few additional tones for the customer. HiLo. I think that's the ultimate HiLo if I remember correctly. And then, and that I believe is Dozer. Okay. Over here we have manual stop. This is manual coast. And manual is the only one that disables it. Some of the things that we also did is that when the customer is in slide switch 3 and ignition and they turn off the vehicle, it automatically goes into slide switch 2. No need to actually press it. That's one of the things we did. Another cool thing that we did is that whenever the customer steps on the brakes, the rear license plate lights turn on a brake pop. Now, in this upfit, the way we wired it up, let's take a look. This is a core, this is the main brain. The main brain has a bunch of wires coming out of it, but this main brain also has what's called an expansion module. So let me just show you what it looks like. Here we have a main brain. Main brain's got 16 outputs plus 6 more high current outputs, so total 22 outputs is not going to cut it for this car. We have a lot more than 22 lights. Also keep in mind, this light, it's an ion duo, so it gets 1 wire for white, 1 wire for red, etc., etc., for all the duo lights. So what Whelen did is they created an expansion module, which is this guy. This expansion module comes in 2 versions. You could get either an 8 or 16. Always use 16 for all upfits because it only costs a little bit more and we just keep it standard that way. So the way it works, instead of running a bunch of wires from the rear all the way to the front of the vehicle, what we'll do is we'll connect the brain, we'll mount this expansion module in the front area, and we'll connect it via a data line. So it's this 4-pin connector over here. It's got 3 wires, and we connect those 3 wires to the rear. This is rated to be mounted in the engine bay per Whelen specs. And in this particular upfit, we mounted one in the front bumper area, one by the kick panel area to control these lights, and then the main brain has its own wires coming out of it. Another thing, so the data line, those 3 wires, it's probably hard to see, but those are right over here. That data line is what separates the CORE family from any other Siren system. So the CORE Siren system can communicate with this external amplifier, and that's all done through this data line. So whenever you're getting a CORE, we always recommend to get the entire, any system that you would get should be part of that suite. So this customer ended up with an Abrams Tornado. They could have gotten an Howler that very seamlessly communicates with all of these. The same goes for the front bar. The customer could have gotten a Whelen inner edge bar. The cost is a little more expensive, so that's why the customer opted for a Shrubsmore bar. That's pretty much this and where we outfitted this. Over here we have our main power in, the power distribution box. And I think that's all I really have to show you guys. Let me know in the comment section what else you want to see in our next videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.